Well, as I've been mentioning, it is the season to overindulge, to overspend, and for many of us, to overcommit to many events and gatherings. But experts say before you say yes to all the invitations, you may want to learn how to say no if you need to. Our next guest is Ann Unger. She's regularly been on the show. She's a clinical psychologist and president of the Manitoba Psychological Society. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, we've kept Pat here for some role playing in a second, so sit tight there, Pat.
Fun and exciting.
You're going to invite me to a party.
Okay.
I'm going to try to say no to you. Why do you think that it's important to talk about this?
Really important because many of us struggle with saying no. So there's this really natural reaction that we want to please people in our life, and we want this sense of belonging. So we want to be connected to others. So whenever we have to put up a boundary, we fear a conflict, we fear the reaction, and that's a really natural feeling to kind of not want to have this negative consequence of feeling no, because we have this natural desire to be connected and to belong. So it can lead us to saying yes to things that we don't really want to, or to, like you mentioned, overcommit ourselves and have too many things on our plate, end up feeling stressed and not enjoying our time.
I think the thing is, there's a fear of offending someone or someone being upset, because that does happen.
For sure.
And then you don't know what to do in those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. It can happen, and we have to kind of weigh what are the pros and cons of that, what are the benefits to ourselves and to others, and the consequences of that, and recognizing also that the other person's need or wants are as valuable as our own. And that's sometimes something we forget.
So let's role play this party thing first of all, and then we'll get into some more discussion about this. So Pat, invite me to a holiday party, and I'm going to say no.
So you're coming to Abby's Christmas party on Friday night, right?
I'm not sure, actually.
Yeah, but come on, all the cool kids are going to be there, and Abby's bought all this food, and it's going to be a great time.
You know, I really appreciate Abby. You know, I love Abby, but I have something else that evening, and it's not that I've prioritized. It's just that I try not to overload myself, and I did commit to something else. So I'm sorry I won't be able to be there.
Okay.
See, like that, even though we're role playing, I mean, that feels like that you feel that disappointment. Yep. How did I do there? And what should people say? Because that's what people really want to know in the moment. What can help us explain to loved ones and friends and family that we do love them? It's not about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did some really nice things there. Was you tried to give some reasons as to why you weren't going, and you also empathized with him and expressed some caring. There is alternative ways as well. So we don't always have to even give a reason.
This is the hard stuff.
This is the hard stuff.
Okay,
right?
We'll practice again with no reason.
Right. Well, and this is something a person needs to weigh, right? In terms of the relationship that you have, and in terms of, the consequences that that's going to have. So a no is a no, and we can just say no. I have another trick that I often use for folks who really struggle with saying no, is, can I get back to you? So sometimes in that moment, we might be really stressed, or we might not be able to think of what we want to say. And you say, you know what, let me check my calendar. I got to get back to you with my family. I tell my kids to use us as parents. I gotta check with the family calendar. I gotta check with my partner or my friend, and then you can have some time to formulate what you want to say and how you want to say it.
I will say this: during the pandemic, we had one of the most beautiful Christmases ever, and it was just my husband and I, because it could only be my husband and I. But I will tell you, it was one of our most beautiful Christmases ever. That did not sit well with my extended family.
Yeah.
Because it became sort of I had this awkward moment where I was like, I wonder how I could incorporate more of that quiet time and family time, because I really learned that I appreciated that. So what would you say to people who are trying to express that? What was best for me, I actually do enjoy a quieter holiday. That can be really hard to express.
Yeah, and that's the piece where you can decide whether or not you tell someone that that's actually what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because you may have that sense that other person isn't going to understand or respect that. So you can just say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to make it this year.
And just sit with that.
Just they don't need to know what's on your schedule or what's not on your schedule.
If it's best for you, it's best for you.
That's okay.
Yeah. Pat left, so he's mad I'm not going to the party. He's left the studio. I'm just kidding. We won't role play anymore. I want to turn to some serious questions here. The whole thing is obviously important for people, but how difficult can this season be for people who experience anxiety or other mental health challenges around all these interactions?
Yeah, it can be, depending on the type of anxiety or struggle that a person has, it can be very different for different people. So that saying no can be very anxiety provoking. That's why I sometimes suggest the maybe as a way to move into that. Also, if people have different mental health challenges, the pull can be to actually isolate. So you can have two opposite problems. So you can have the overcommitting, and then you can have also the withdrawal and the isolation. And so each person has to kind of figure out what is going to be the best for me this holiday season in terms of managing my mental health and also managing that connection and belonging. So one of the biggest supports to our mental health is social connection, but we have to do it in a way that doesn't overwhelm our nervous systems and our stress levels.
People often lean on, I'm an introvert, I don't want to go to a big party. And that might be true. You might restore your energies on your own. Is there a way to express that? Because people who are extroverted, of course, it's just different ways of being, but they walk through the world gaining energy from everybody around them. So they want to be at every party, right? So where's the middle ground there? Is there a way to tell if sometimes you can't even tell if you're, isolating yourself, to your point?
Yeah, I think you have to do that regular kind of check-in in terms of how you're doing. If you're feeling lonely or if you're feeling down or if you're missing things, that will be the sign. Introverts need people too, just in different ways. So finding what works for you, what charges you, and then spacing that out and balancing it with some of those social activities and those commitments. Your close friends will know that you're an introvert, and you'll have over the years shared about
they won't have seen you at everything,
right?
Yep.
And you may have even talked about it, about what energizes you, and they'll understand. Well, the hope is that they'll understand.
Just as a last question, because it's all been hopefully very helpful for people at a difficult time of year, but also a lovely time of year. Let's not get lost in that. How can being overcommitted, though, impact the real value of the holidays to us as human beings?
Absolutely. So we can get a little bit focused on getting all the details done. And if we're overcommitting and we're focusing on a lot of, I would say, kind of the stuff or the administrative side of things, we can kind of miss the value and the meaning that it has for us, and we can miss the social connection. So if we're, spending a lot of time on getting our house ready or, getting all the things, and some of those things are very meaningful. And so that's something I often encourage people to focus on, is what is the meaning and the value for you during the holiday time, and try to bring your attention to that, and then maybe let go of some of those expectations that may or may not be as important as we might think they are. So having some time of reflection and focusing on value and meaning.
My friend years ago said, you didn't get time to bake the cookies? What? You didn't put the tree up? You didn't send the cards? That's okay. You come in and see me so we can hang out? Yeah, I am. So I always thought that was a good one. If you're sort of stressed about it, take a second to figure it out. But I love this time of year. Appreciate your advice, and thank you for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Ann Unger is a clinical psychologist and president of the Manitoba Psychological Society. How do you set boundaries in your own life? Maybe you have some advice here, or maybe you've come to something or a phrase that you use a lot that works for you. You can always weigh in by calling us 788-3205.